everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Connecting Through Conversation. I'm your host, Miranda Oakley. I'm honored to have Madie Hendrix on the podcast today. Madie is an opera singer, lyric coloratura soprano. For people who are not musical, this means Madie has vocal flexibility and agility. Welcome, Madie.
Hi, so good to be here.
Thanks for coming on today. I'm so looking forward to this.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here. It's going to be so much fun.
It is going to be fun.
Yes.
So, how long have you been singing?
So, that's a good question. I've been singing actually ever since I could talk. I started singing out in church when I was, 4 or 5 years old, and now I'm 25. So, yeah, it's been a really nice, fun journey filled with lots of music and lots of musical styles. And yeah, I can't wait to take you through it today. It's gonna be fun.
That's wonderful. So, take me back to the moment when you said, singing is my calling. Was there a particular song or artist that inspired you?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So, actually, it's been quite a journey, as I said. I actually started singing in middle school and, like, really taking singing seriously in middle school. And that's when I started to, want to, take voice lessons. And I started doing little concerts for my family and concerts for my neighborhood. And I wanted to sing like my favorite vocalists on the radio, and one of my favorite vocalists as a teenager specifically was Martina McBride, a country singer. And her music, it's funny to say, it became its own genre of music. There was country music, but then there was Martina, and I sang whatever she sang and nothing else for quite a while, and it drove my drove some people crazy. They were like, "Oh man, why can't you sing other stuff?" It was funny that teenage phase, but I remember just loving her and loving her music. And then, so she really inspired me to really start singing, and that was just really fun, singing her music. And then in choir, I in high school I decided to join choir as an elective course, but I remember being worried, oh, choir, I was always worried about the style, because we didn't sing country music in choir. We focused on classical, traditional choral music, because I was in the concert choir. And so we focused on that. So I remember being worried, at first, oh my gosh, is it going to affect my voice as a country singer? But it's kind of funny. I remember my choir teacher and I talking about it, and it was funny. He just said something really impactful to me, and it was that music is music and singing is singing, and you should love it and sing it all. And I remember that, and it meant a lot to me, and it really inspired me to really work on my voice. But I really started to learn about my voice in this class, and specifically that I could sing high notes, and not Martina high, which is high, considering the belt voice in pop music, but I could sing the classical soprano stratosphere kind of high, and that was really cool. Choral music was kind of different in that I really found my upper register. Um, yeah, I mean, because I had sung pop music, mostly singing in a full belt voice, I didn't really realize I had this upper range. So I wanted to explore this more. So I really decided to commit to study classical voice and audition for Allstate and choral solos. And I remember going back to your question about being inspired by a singer or a song. There was this one solo that we did, or this piece that had a solo that I auditioned for. O Solitaris Ostia. It's by Eric Eschenvals, who is, I believe, a Latvian choral composer. And it has a beautiful two soprano soloists in it. And that solo just really, inspired me to, really get into classical music. And then my senior year of high school, I just grew to love, the classical style. and I just decided to completely switch over to classical singing. So from Martina to, I guess, like Mozart, you could
That's
say.
that's
Um,
amazing. There's nothing
yeah,
like music that inspires. So
yeah.
take me back to singing with Martina McBride. How amazing. And you guys have to look it up on YouTube. I
Yes.
actually found Maddie through Martina tweeting an article from Rolling Stone
Hmm.
about how she got to sing with a singer who's blind.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that was so neat. And now we're like best friends. It's so much fun. So, yeah,
Yes.
so I sang with Martina McBride in 2014. It was kind of surreal because I was a like teenage fangirling Martina McBride. So it was neat. So, I I was a part of her charity group, which at the time was called, I believe, Team Music is Love, and they were raising money for a shelter in Guatemala for the girls there, the young children there, to get a music school, a music program. And I raised money for that, and then a certain number of those team members were invited to a private sound check before a Martina McBride show, and this one was in Huntsville, Alabama. And at that sound check, um, I was called up on stage by Martina, my mom, and I guess the team director, one of my really wonderful friends, Sheila Jones, worked something out to where they knew I was such a big fan of Martina, and they wanted me to like have this experience. And Martina agreed, and so at the sound check, she called me up on stage, and I got to sing with her. I sang "Anyway," which is one of her big hits,
Which is
and
so,
it
I mean, it's so like, it's such a great song for you to sing if you
so
really
cool.
like look
Wasn't
at,
it?
think
Such
about the lyrics. It's
inspiring,
so great.
right? Yeah, yeah.
There's like no better song that you two could have sang together. That's
Oh yeah, I
beautiful.
know. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how it happened. Yeah. It was through a sound check, and it was probably the like one of the biggest highlights of my teenage years, definitely. I'm so grateful for it still. Yeah.
So, talk to me about your choral experiences as a vocalist who can't see. Have you found your high school and college experiences to be different?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So, I would say one of the big differences was reading music. So, a lot of times in high school, just how I would do my pop music as well, I would learn by ear. I would just, listen to it however many times and then have it memorized. But in college, as I said, I really wanted to go into in like academic study of the voice and classical music, and so I wanted to learn how to read sheet music, and so that's when I learned to read Braille music, and that I would say would be a really big difference because then I started in college. I started getting my music in Braille, and this really opened the door for me because I was able to be an independent musician, and I was able to, instead of just listening to the other sopranos around me, singing our parts, I was able to help help lead the choir, help really be really contribute to the choral ensemble, and I really felt, as I said, it really helped me become an independent musician, and so yeah, learning having braille sheet music was, I would say, would be a really big difference. And then as my voice developed, my technique developed throughout collegiate voice lessons, singing in choir and in general just became, it did become easier. So yeah, so I hope that answers it. Yeah, braille sheet music and then really studying technique. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely answers. Thanks. So, tell me
Mhm.
what it was like going to London and North Carolina with your
Oh my
choir.
gosh, yeah, that was so cool. So in 2018, so I went to the University of Montevallo for my undergrad, and we got to sing throughout London and Paris in 2018. It was an amazing trip. Um, and we sang at Notre Dame before it burned. We sang in a Canterbury Cathedral. We visited Windsor Castle. We visited the Louvre in Paris and the Eiffel Tower. And it was just so much fun. And then another really neat trip in grad school just recently in 2021. Or no, 2022, last year. I got to sing in North Carolina, and that was a big, wonderful trip because we were invited for the Georgia State Singers. So I'm now at Georgia State, finishing up my master's degree. And the Georgia State University Singers got to sing at the American Choral Directors Association conference, and I went to North Carolina with them. And that was a big trip too because it was really fun. But also I remember getting to go, my dad went with me for the London and Paris trip, but I went by myself for this trip, along with, of course, my choir family. But I remember that being a really fun trip as well, because we were invited to sing at this wonderful choral conference. And yeah, just such fond memories. I mean, choir is a family.
That's amazing. And what a like big moment too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So much fun. Such a blessing, really.
So I'm a foodie and I
Oh
always
my gosh, me too.
I always love, yeah, I always love hearing about good restaurants. So were there any places that stand out to you?
Oh my gosh. So let me tell you, French onion soup in Paris, you can't go wrong.
Ooh.
It was amazing. It was so good. That was a highlight. And then back in the States, in America, I remember we went to this food court, I want to say it was a food court, and I didn't really I didn't know what to expect. And I especially didn't know that the food was going to be so good. So I remember getting this salad, and it was probably like one of the best salads I've ever had. It was so good. It was so good. I just remember it. Being in North Carolina, just sitting with my friends at this table, and we were just talking, and I was just like, guys, this salad is so good.
That
It
sounds like
was it was awesome. Yeah, it was so great. Again, choir is family, and choir just brings memories, and so does food. So,
absolutely. There's nothing like good friends and food and music. I feel like I
food
would have
and
said
music.
the same
Exactly.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was so fun. Yeah.
So traveling to London,
Yes.
I have to ask about tea. I'm not one of those tea people who journals about what I drink, but I love me a good cup.
Same.
My friend actually calls me a tea princess.
Tea
Uh,
princess.
so,
Can I be a
so
tea
talk to
princess
me.
too?
Oh, you want to call me a tea princess?
I want to be a tea princess with you.
Oh, sure, sure. Why not, right?
Sweet.
So talk to me about tea, Maddie.
Okay, tea was so good. Yes, tea in London was really good, and it actually wasn't too much different than the English breakfast that I get in America. But it was really good. I remember it being really good. Yeah, tea was a highlight as well. Yeah, and I liked it. I remember liking it hot and just a little bit of milk, a little bit of cream, and it was just perfect. Yeah.
Nice. Let's talk about your transition from choir into opera. And what are some fun facts about opera you can tell us?
Oh, sweet. Yeah. So, let me start actually with a fun fact about opera. That would be really fun. Um, so there are a lot of like different styles of classical music, first of all, and I started out singing a lot of art song, which is a lot of poetry set to music, and think Shakespeare sonnets, uh, Emily Dickinson poems, Sarah Teasdale. I mean, lots of poetry set to music, and like you have German lieder and French melody, and yeah, and then there's oratorio. These are sacred text, like biblical texts, like Elijah and Samson and Messiah. Um, and opera is usually like secular texts, which are stories set to stories set to music, like La Boheme or Hamlet or Cinderella. Those are all operas. Um, Really fun. We don't necessarily use microphones in opera. In fact, that's what sets opera apart from like maybe another theatrical form that you've heard, like musical theater. And for example, Phantom of the Opera isn't necessarily an opera. It's a form of theater, but it's what we'd call a sung-through musical. And as I said, Phantom of the Opera, people that perform that use electronic amplification, which is microphones, and we don't use that in opera.
How interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot of training to learn to sing uh, in the classical technique. Yeah, which, it takes a lot of work, but I personally, I love it. I love it. Um, Another thing is that um, Andrea Bocelli, everybody brings him up when they hear that I'm an opera singer. Um, but he's more of what we'd call a classical crossover singer, and I really don't love being put in a box. So that's something that I would say to the audience is,
Which I'm proud
I,
of you for. Nobody should.
yeah, I don't love being put in a box, and furthermore, if you listen to Andrea Bocelli's music, he's got a lot of like pop elements to his music, like drums and a band, and like sometimes I think there's maybe guitar, and yeah, and also again a microphone. Um, it's more pop classical style versus opera, as I said, uses no amplification and really uses the hall as your amplification and your voice and your technique as really your you really have to trust your technique. Uh, and you do this in pop music as well. Like, don't get me wrong, but but yes,
I think
uh,
learning
yeah.
I think learning to trust yourself is so important. And
Mm,
I'm so glad you mentioned, the difference between you and Andrea Bocelli,
mhm.
because I think that when sighted people who are not educated, even
Yes,
though they're can be great, they can be great people. I
yeah,
think what happens is, like you mentioned, we do get put in a box as someone
yes,
who's blind, and
absolutely.
people think we're all the same. And when it
Yeah.
comes to blind people, there is no one size fits all.
There
So
is no one size fits all. That is so so true, so so true. And all respect to Andrea Bocelli, but again, being put in a box with another blind singer, just I'd rather be me.
you
you
want to be
know?
Maddie, yeah,
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 yep.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And then probably another fun fact is like people are like, "Oh, do you sing in Italian?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, I do sing in Italian." But opera is also in English and German and Russian and French and all sorts of different languages and all sorts of different stories from tragedies to comedies. So, yeah. So, I guess maybe was your other question about how did I get into opera? Maybe I
Yeah,
could
how did
go.
you transition from choir to opera?
Oh, sweet. So, yeah, so as I said, I started like imitating what I heard on the radio, and choir was such a like important moment for me in high school because that's when I really started coming in like the interested in the how of singing, like how to develop my voice, my technique, and just how I could just develop freedom in my voice. And I worked on this all throughout my undergrad years. I sang a lot of great classical repertoire, the majority of which was what we'd call art song, and this is poetry set to music. So think like Sarah Teasdale or Shakespeare sonnets or Emily Dickinson, like poems. Yeah, and but I did do opera workshop and I sang some arias in undergrad, and but I really wanted to make opera happen for me when it was actually one night during the pandemic in 2020. I found out that the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City, was streaming their opera productions for free. So I was like, whoa, I'll take advantage of this. And the opera that they happened to be showing that night was uh, Romeo and Juliet, or in French, Romeo et Juliette in French. It's an opera by Gounod, Charles Gounod. And I was just listening and I was just loving it. And I suddenly got the English super titles, which the super titles are what basically provide somewhat of a translation of what's being sung on the screen. But I got that to like appear on my braille display. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I was able to just like really see how the story was being told through the music, and it just like took my breath away. It was just amazing. And then so I was thinking about like I really want to do this. Like I really want opera to be like my career. I was like obsessed. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so fun." And but because of the acting, like I never really thought like moving on stage and being in the on the stage that way would be something that I could do. And but right when I started to have doubts, though, I found this other blind soprano who's doing exactly what I want to do, and her name is Christina Jones, and she is just one of my best friends and mentors. And I've learned from her so much that, like, making this work has a lot to do with being proactive and finding people that are not going to put you in a box and are open and willing to be creative with you. Um, yeah, so that's like that was like really what inspired me to like do opera. Yeah, and like really transition over and really start getting my aria package together. Yeah, does that? I hope that answers that.
Yeah, that is such a great, there's something so special about people that help us come out of the box that blind people are
Yeah.
often put in.
Yeah.
So I just think that's so great. And that kind of answers my next question, which was,
Yeah.
has there been any people along your musical journey that have been particularly helpful along the way? And you mentioned Christina. That's so
Yes.
great.
Absolutely. Christina Jones, being a fellow blind soprano, one of my teachers at school has especially taken me in with open arms and really helped me with acting. And again, as I said, like just having that support system, having the people that do what you want to do and have made it happen and are willing to work with you, that's so important. And so like my family's been so supportive, and then like the people in my musical life, like Christina and my teacher Catherine at school, I mean, just wonderful. And also a huge shout out to my choir directors and my voice teachers throughout the years. They have been blessings, and I've learned something from everyone. And that's amazing, just like looking back. And I would say, again, as I said, I've learned something from everyone. So it's been a real blessing.
Mentors and role models are some of the best gifts life can give us. They
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I totally agree.
what advice do you have for anyone who is blind who is thinking about making singing a career?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say you can absolutely do it. Um, and I would say this is just for life in general as well as singing, but learn to advocate for yourself because you might not have somebody that uh, is, you might not have people on your side all the time. And so learning to advocate for yourself is really important. Um,
Absolutely.
being a blind performer, sometimes I've gotten some like questions like, "Oh, performing like that's not like a career like," and it is. It totally is, and you just have to find again, like Christina, as I said, the people that the people that do this and the people um, that are doing what you love and make it really happen for yourself and learn to advocate for yourself. Um, and as I said, have that support system. Have that support system if you're a singer. It's really important. People that you can go to for advice. And have a voice teacher. They can be a part of your support system as well. And as I said, find people who do what you love and connect with them. And I will say, getting into commercial music versus the classical opera world, it certainly has its differences. So research well. Research well. Yeah, I hope that helps.
That is great advice. Since
Yeah.
we've spent time talking about your amazing voice, can you sing something for
Oh
us?
my gosh, what? Okay. All right, absolutely. Does it matter? Do you want a Martina song? Do you want an opera aria?
Why not sing both for us?
Oh, okay. I'll give you a little Martina. In fact, you want to hear a little bit of anyway?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh
It's
my
such a
God.
great song.
Okay.
For even people that don't like that style of music, I mean, the
Yeah.
lyrics are just so
Oh,
great.
it's so inspiring.
It really is.
God is great, but sometimes life ain't good. And when I pray, it doesn't always turn out like I think it should. But I do it anyway. I do it anyway. You can pour your soul out singing a song you believe in, that tomorrow they'll forget you ever sang. Sing it anyway. Yeah, sing it anyway. Yeah, yeah. I sing. I dream. I love anyway. I do it anyway.
That was excellent.
Oh, oh my gosh, thank you. Aren't those lyrics so inspiring?
It's such a
Hmm.
great song. The whole song, Martina has a great catalog.
Yeah, she really does, yeah.
So I'm really showing my age because I'm pretty sure if I have friends who are young, uh, my friend that I call the cool kid, probably has no idea about this music. So
Oh,
I'm, but lucky to
I
grow
feel
up with a
that.
good vocalist. So
Oh.
do you want to
Hey,
sing
again, remember what my choir teacher said. It's all music and it's all beautiful. So,
Oh, absolutely. I love all
yeah,
kinds of music. Yeah.
yeah.
So, so do you want to sing an aria for us?
Oh my gosh, sure, sure. Do you care about a language or like German or Italian or French or English?
I don't mind about a language.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, would Italian be cool?
Sure.
Okay, I love Italian. Italian is one of my favorite languages to sing in. So, this is an aria, a lighter sort of role from Giuseppe Verdi, and he was an Italian composer in the 19th century. Actually, really big composer back then, and had a lot of hits. And yeah, this is one of his arias from an opera called Falstaff. It's based on an comedy by Shakespeare. And yeah, so let me actually back up because, again, my voice is to operas a little different. So, okay, so I'll sing a little bit of this aria for you. It's really beautiful. It's called Sul fil d'un soffio Etesio from Falstaff. Okay. Ediam spontanea scegliendo fiore da fiore, unico rola in core, porta la sua fortuna coi cieli e le veroli
Wow.
Oh my
That
gosh.
that was amazing.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
That
Thank
really
you.
was.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
That
I'm
was
like, oh my
awesome.
gosh. I'm like always like, is my voice annoying or?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you guys. This has been
Thank you.
so much fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maddie. Really,
Oh,
this
you're
was such an
so
honor.
welcome.
It's been
You
so
are.
much fun.
Oh, same.
You
I can
guys,
say the same. It's been a blast.
yeah, you guys can follow Maddie on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Madie Hendrix Soprano. That's MADIEHENDRIX.
hmm
She's also on YouTube at Madie Hendrix Soprano. Again, that's MADIEHENDRIX. And Maddie offers lessons in voice as well as Braille music in her online studio. So definitely give Maddie a follow. And until next time, thanks for listening. Be well.